Good morning, students. I hope you're able to hear me. Good afternoon, students. It's the second class of the day for me. Good afternoon once again. Good afternoon once again. That's it. I'm able to hear my voice. That's really good to know. So, on that note, I will begin with the class. So, welcome everybody to Unacademy for the session. Today, second of the three sessions. There are actually three YouTube sessions planned for the day. The third one I will be completing. That will start at 4 p.m. I'll be completing the current affairs for the month of April, about which you already know. I've taken two classes. Today is the third and the last. Right now, I'm gonna do the newspaper of today. In the morning, I analyzed yesterday's paper. Right now, I'm analyzing today's paper. From tomorrow, things will be live. So tomorrow, I'll be taking tomorrow's newspaper itself. Apart from which, I will also start the current affairs for one of the months. So I'll basically be doing the Hindu newspaper, and there's also very good news right now for football fans, any of who are watching, because at the end of the session, I will also be analyzing the transfer window, which just expired yesterday. Uh, so we'll be having a detailed discussion on football for that matter. ठीक है. So till then, let's just continue with the session. Right. So we are Unacademy. We are India's largest e-learning platform, uh, present across the different entrance exams. This is a profile of myself. My name is Aritro Dasgupta, and I'm an MBA in forest management with specialization in conservation and livelihood. I studied at the Indian Institute of Forest Management, which is part of the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. The institute is located in Bhopal, capital of Madhya Pradesh. So I finished my MBA in 2010. Since then, it's been more than a decade. I've been continuously working. I've been working in the areas of teaching, training, strategy consulting, executive recruitment, and in content writing. Teaching, of course, I started out with a college, a university, for with which I spent a few years, including a stint in the Middle East. Corporate training is something which I started out with even before that, and also I often visit these institutions. Several schools and colleges I visited to provide training sessions. I also have a few clients on the lifestyle segment whom I consult for their industry requirements. I help companies with recruitment at the very top. So there's a particular university in Nigeria, for instance, where I sent the, shall we say, the the second in command basically in there. I'm forgetting the name of the title. It's above director, so I'm just forgetting the name. Vice chancellor, right? The vice chancellor I had recruited, and also content writing. I've got several writing clients such as Careers 360, Business World, WhatsApp Life, various organizations for whom I have contributed articles over the years. My experience has predominantly been in India, but I've also worked in the Middle East and in the US. Rank holders to several examinations. So the last 5 years I've been with the coaching segment. So CAT, CLAT, DUJAT, etc. Their toppers have been my students over the years. So this is all you will receive from the Unacademy platform. There is a structured course content which is produced at our head office in Bengaluru. You get unlimited access to our classes the moment you are enrolled in it. There are live tests and quizzes as well. I'll show it to you on the right hand side. We have a live chat window. तो आपके कुछ भी comments हो आप please यहाँ पे लिख दीजिए. I will be really happy to answer your queries. And of course, you receive daily live classes. This is the name of our channel, Crack Management Exams. So once you visit this page, you will receive all the videos at one go. So no worries there. So, for example, today I conducted a few sessions, so आपको उसका मिलेगा. And if you look at the videos, it shows all the videos. So, this shall be great an educational platform for you guys from that particular thing. Right. You also have educators, star educators from different areas, such as these star educators who will be part of our platform. So you can go through their classes. And these are some other star educators. And this is just to show you how you receive notifications for the different sessions as well. You may also form full-fledged batches with different educators, such as there can be one batch for the entire course as on top, which includes all the subjects and all the number of trainers. At the bottom, there's a single faculty with a single subject. So both options are available for you guys. Of course, you need to enroll at unacademy.com for that. So do experience class on unacademy.com as well. So what all advantages you receive? First of all, there's a schedule that works very well for you. So how does this schedule work? Let me just explain to you. So even if you missed out a session, you can always see the recordings. You can download sessions. All you need, as I told you, is a mobile, a PC, or a tablet. There is also no language barrier, right? Because we are present in 16 different languages. We've always believed that language is a medium of instruction and not it should not be a hindrance. So that's why we are present in so many languages. You can of course interact with your educator anytime to get your doubts cleared. There are also live polls. So live polls, one is on the right hand side, which I showed you. We also have poll system on unacademy.com, so please experience those classes. And thirdly, you also have full-fledged tests which take in the entire content, as is there on the left-hand side. So इसको अगर आप करेंगे, you'll get a detailed analysis of what kind of questions you got right, what you got wrong, the speed per topic. You can actually prepare in a dedicated manner. Otherwise, it's all scattered. Whatever PDFs I'm using, you may download them, and the class notes as well you will receive along with that. Right, this is my code AD09. Do take a look at the entire slide so that you may understand a couple of things. Right, so on that note, let us just continue. I'm gonna fetch today's newspaper. This is the newspaper, as you may all see. Here it is. So as usual, I'm gonna begin with the Hindu newspaper. So let's start on that note. Right. I had told you earlier today when we were doing the session on, by the way, just to tell you that the longer term courses are much more beneficial, as I'm sure you've already gone through it. So go ahead for a long term course rather than these short term courses. That'll be better for you. I think many of you might be preparing for this year's CAT, but now that it's getting very close, many might consider 2021. So go for the next two attempts if possible. So that way you may decide here. Right. So I had told you earlier today about Delhi's Chief Minister Sri Arvind Kejriwal launching an anti-pollution campaign that is to take further importance right now, because he's actually launched a Yudh Pradushan Ke Virudh. That is the campaign known as Yudh Pradushan Ke Virudh, which means pollution being a war. We are campaigning against that. A particular app has been launched by the Delhi government known as the Green Delhi app. This is for creation of a war room to monitor progress, processing liquid solution for farms in order to curb stubble burning, and hotspot specific action plans. The GST Council had a very important meet yesterday. I think I had told you earlier about the impending meet. There have been some disagreements within the council, and that is why there's going another meeting has been scheduled for 12th of October. That's when it will be finalized. The first of the six Nobel Prizes results have been announced. I told you earlier today about one leader from Afghanistan being a front runner for the Peace Prize. I'd also hinted to you then, and now I'm going to finalize it, that the Nobel Prize for Medicine and Physiology category has been already established. There are six categories of Nobels. You have economics, literature. Okay, let me go chronologically. You have physics, chemistry, medicine and physiology is one, literature and peace. These were the five original Nobels started in the year 1901. Then in 1969, it was another category was added, which is economics. So now we have six categories. Five of them are given by the Nobel Committee. Economics is given by the Central Bank of Sweden. The Nobel Committee again awards four of these prizes from Sweden, except the Peace Prize, which is awarded by Norway. The others are all awarded by Sweden. I hope you got the breakup. Okay, so first of the six categories have been announced. So this year's winners, very important piece of news. So now every day some or the other category will be announced. So you can expect over the next week or 10 days all the categories to be announced. So the winners are Dr. Harvey J. Alter, Charles M. Rice, and Michael Houghton. The first two of them, they are both Americans. The third one is from Great Britain, from the United Kingdom. And what they did was they discovered a solution, a cure for hepatitis C. Rather, they isolated the hepatitis C virus. Before a cure can be developed, you need to isolate the virus. So that virus has been isolated so that something can be done. More than 70 million people are affected annually by hepatitis C, and about 400,000 or 4 lakh deaths the world sees every year. So they will receive a total prize money of 10 million Swedish crowns. Sweden, by the way, you might be aware, is not part of the Eurozone. It's part of the European Union, but they haven't adopted Euro as their currency. 10 million Swedish crowns amounts to a little more than $1 million. So the three of them will be sharing this amount. So this was announced by Mr. Thomas Perlman, who's the Secretary General of the Nobel Assembly. So it's actually the second Nobel Prize awarded for hepatitis C, for any hepatitis research rather. The previous one was 1976 when Barrage Bloomberg won it for determining a form of blood-borne hepatitis. So that was related to hepatitis B. Right. So this is part of the flavivirus family, which is hepatitis C. Right. So Dr. Rice was from the Washington University in St. Louis. Right. Let's move ahead further. So moving on to the local pages. There is a citizens' body known as the Citizens for Clean Air, based in New Delhi. They have written to the center for ban of all firecrackers for the next 5 months. The next 5 months are supposed to be the worst when it comes to air pollution, and we all know that the role that firecrackers can cause further damage. So these people, a group of stakeholders, many of them are parents of young smaller children. They feel that their children will need to go out, and now there is all the more needed to have clean air, because any breathing problem could eventually lead to COVID-19 also being contacted. So that is why The idea is that for the next few months, festivals, marriages, sport, and other public events should ban firecrackers. Mm, So they have actually written to a Supreme Court constituted body known as the EPCA, which is the Environment Pollution Prevention and Control Authority. Uh, right. The Delhi High Court has actually written to the NADA, which is the National Anti-Doping Agency, to address a plea made by some of the athletes recently regarding a 2015 ruling. This is regarding the doping policies presently being followed. Testing in Delhi has actually reduced by 30%, because of which the number of cases have also dipped to below 2000 per day. So, fortunately, the next 2 days, um, the air quality will remain moderate, but after that, things could worsen. The NGT, or the National Green Tribunal, which is the apex court for all environment and forest related cases, they have written to the state government of Haryana regarding flouting of environmental norms. The Union Minister of Housing and Urban Affairs, Shri Hardeep Puri, he has, sort of been overseeing the Regional Plan 2041, and he feels that there is a lot of hope for a better future. A lot of the costs of the projects have been analyzed, and we are looking at increasing the overall forest cover. So, workshops will be established to make the stakeholders understand what exactly is needed over some time. There is a very interesting study on the Delhi zoos that was conducted recently by the TERI, the Energy and Resources Institute, formerly known as the Tata Energy and Resources Institute. So it's been about a decade. It's TERI. So this was actually commissioned by the Central Zoo Authority to understand the environmental impact of zoos, and that has actually been valued at 426 crores. That is, this is the first ever such study in India, and it was done in Delhi. And that this will help us understand that the zoos will now need greater importance, because they are providing so much of such a massive baseline. So more assessment will be needed. Meanwhile, there was a study to understand this. The study was conducted by a international or by an organization called CUTS, which stands for Consumer Unity and Trust Society. This was to understand whether people in rural areas understand the role of trans fats. So there are good fats, there are bad fats. These trans fats are predominantly bad fats. They are not water soluble, and they sort of attached to the human body. So this study, for a start, was only done in Rajasthan, and it's in 61%. So three-fifths of our rural consumers are unaware completely of what exactly are trans fats. So this could lead to a drastic increase in cardiovascular diseases. So even in rural areas, earlier heart diseases were considered more of an urban problem, but now these trans fats have seeped into the ground as well. So now even in rural areas, people have been known to suffer from these kinds of diseases. Maharashtra, meanwhile, the state of Maharashtra has recorded its lowest COVID-19 surge in the last 45 days. The High Court of Mumbai has declared that if any COVID-19 patient dies due to negligence at the healthcare center, then the family should be compensated. There is a discussion about the upcoming by-elections in Madhya Pradesh. There will be more around 27 seats which will be contested in Madhya Pradesh. There is also an article about the pandemic. I've moved on to the editorial page, which is one of the most important ones in the newspaper. So there's an article on the peak of the pandemic having probably been achieved. So the number of daily cases have actually reduced now for the first time since we started the counting. Uh, so the economy does need to be unlocked, but not in an irrational manner. There's an article by Professor Devashish Chatterjee. He's an author of a book known as Timeless Leadership. He's also at present the director of the IIM Kozhikode in Kerala. So he has written about the new education policy, which after 34 years has spoken about the transformation in education. He's also spoken about how exactly in 2047, so why 2047, because that will be exactly 100 years since the political independence of the country. So he's given us a discussion on what education will look like in the year 2047. So among the many things he's spoken about, he has spoken about the autonomy of institutions, and he has specifically referred to the 2017 IAM bill, which states that how the it has now become an act. Of course, the IIMs now have autonomy. However, on the ground it doesn't always work out very well. He has also spoken out about the myriad challenges in today's workspace, and how work is no longer all about shall we say changes in the pattern, and right. So he states, I'll just turn on, just give me a moment please. Right, I just went to turn on the AC. So basically, what's happening is he speaks about a very important case of, say, floods affecting a city. So, whenever floods affect a city, it is not just a matter of public urban planning, but it's also an environmental issue, an engineering issue, one of public health, and of course, a political issue. So, people from different fields need to come together, collaborate together. So he's actually spoken about how different educational streams should merge together. We don't want standalone institutes, we want more of multidisciplinary institutes. I think a very good example is the IIT Madras, which obviously, like any IIT, was predominantly known for its engineering, but over the last decade or so, maybe a little less than that, they have even developed a very good social sciences segment. And today, IIT Chennai is so famous for that. So he's spoken about several of these combined methods, because you need people from different areas to work together on solutions. Uh, he's actually correlated the entire thing to several traditional Indian systems, such as Svetata, Ananda, and Purnatva. He's combined all of it with something like the Indian traditions. He's also spoken about how a teacher will evolve from being a ring master to a Zen master, and will be more responsible for raising awareness rather than merely delivering content. I hope I'm somewhat doing that. Um, He's also spoken about technology innovation and nurturing minds with values. There are a couple of articles on the farm bills. To be precise, there are actually two and a half articles which talk about something or the other related to that. One is an outright article on the Farm Acts and According to the writer, it's unwanted constitutional adventurism which weakens federalism. So it's Professor Ramakumar. He is from the TIS, Tata Institute of Social Sciences. So he says about how these acts have poor legal validity, and these three acts basically are, first is the Farmers' Produce, Trade and Commerce Promotion Facilitation Act. The second is the Farmers' Empowerment and Protection Agreement on Price Assurance and Farm Services Act 2020. And the third is the amendment to the Essential Commodities Act 2020. So, first of all, he says that agriculture is a state subject. So, while it can be, there can be concurrent measures, but central government should not be acting out solely on its own. Um, so several other things. He's also spoken about what the judiciary has said in the past about the APMCs. Right. Moving further ahead, there is an article on Brexit and how Boris Johnson's position has actually weakened the United Kingdom constitutionally. This article is by Mr. Amir Ali, who teaches at the Center for Political Studies at the JNU. Another article is by Mr. Ashish Kothari, who works with Kalpvriksh, Vikalp Sangam, and also with the global tapestry of alternatives. So he says that India needs an R&D or a rainbow New Deal or a rainbow recovery plan. A present rainbow recovery plan looks into very broad method, but does not look into the nitty gritties at the ground. For example, there are 200 million small farmers, pastoralists, and fishers who can easily be asked to produce organic, ecologically sustainable productivity, and this can create so many further new jobs. In fact, the schemes such as the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme, these could be reoriented to provide these kind of jobs. In fact, he also speaks about Sarpanch from a village in Gujarat, the Kunaria village. His name is Mr. Suresh Changa. So in a recent webinar, he spoke about how if their own small area can save 40 lakh rupees a month by producing a lot of the substances locally. So there's also this clamor that made in India needs to be redrafted to handmade in India, because that will lead to several millions of jobs being restarted. So in fact, Seva, which is one of the principal NGOs in Gujarat, one of its senior, it's actually the founder, Miss Ila Bhatt. She has proposed a 100-mile radius within which the objective of self-reliance needs to be maintained. Self-reliance should also be inclusive, must include Dalits, women, Adivasis, landless people, as well as the LGBTQ community and the disabled. The Forest Right Acts also need certain amount of amendment in that, and that is what self-reliance is actually going to achieve. In fact, an economist, he has referred to Mr. Prabhat Patnaik, who had pointed out that a mere 2% increase in wealth tax and a 33% on inheritance tax on the richest 1% of the country could generate more revenue in a year than the entire Atmanirbhar package. Um, in fact, a lot of these self-reliance measures actually will benefit the big companies rather than the common Indian people. So that is what he has further spoken about. These are his personal views. And finally, there is one more, as I said, yet another article which somewhat deals with the farm bills, which have now become laws. This is written by both are LLM candidates at the University of Cambridge. One is Aditya Manu Barwala and the other is Pranav Verma. They have spoken about how MSP has never been constitutionally recognized, but it needs the MSP regime needs to be stronger. The new acts which have been set up, none of them include the word MSP, but it is actually something that farmers hold very dearly. And this is, in fact, federalism being threatened. There is something known as Article 131 of the Indian Constitution, where a state government can actually fight the decision of the center, and that is something perhaps the some of these governments, such as Punjab, which has been sort of protesting these could actually act against that. So says some of the material here. Right. In fact, a lot of data has been cited at the bottom regarding how the middlemen and APMCs or eliminating them was never a top priority for farmers, in spite of them being projected as evil. That may not, in practicality, be the case. That's what a lot of these studies suggest. So there was a study by the RBI in 2018, which looks titled MSP for crops. So it clearly shows that what are the schemes that help farmers. A whopping 51% of them mentioned MSPs, while only 37% mentioned readily available markets. 34% said denotification of product. Basically, they could choose more than one of the columns. 19% said ENAM, some could not say, or some said none of them were making. And those that may help in right cropping decisions are reliable weather forecast. This is something right on top. Elimination of middlemen is not really a priority. Only 25% wanted intermediaries to be banned. 29% wanted greater procurement on MSPs. Timely information on market prices is by 35%. Government advisory on crops by nearly half the population of those surveyed, and storage facility by another similar figure. State-wise data has also been presented from Andhra Pradesh, Bihar, Gujarat, Karnataka, Maharashtra, Odisha, Rajasthan, Tamil Nadu, UP, and Uttarakhand regarding what were their priorities and what they want in the upcoming future. Right, I'm done with the editorial. Moving on to some of the local pages. So the state government of Kerala has seen a dip in cases. The state of Kerala rather has seen a dip in cases. Even testing has reduced. So barely a bit more than 5,000 cases in Kerala, bit more than 7,000 in Karnataka. The government wants further a report on the Kamat panel report, which is based on borrowers. There is a new road project which has been launched in the state of Kerala, launched by the Chief Minister, Mr. Pinarayi Vijayan. This is a tunnel project which will link the Wayanad from region to Kozhikode. This will be known as the Anna Kampoil to Mepad tunnel. I'm sorry if I pronounced it wrong. It's a 7 kilometer long tunnel to connect the two. A total 900 crores have been allocated for this project, and this will be constructed by the famous Konkan Railway Corporation Limited. The Congress party has declared 46 candidates for the first few rounds of the Bihar election. They will be contesting on around 70 seats, around 68 seats. So, clearly, 46 candidates have already been announced by the Congress party. Names have been confirmed by Ms. Sonia Gandhi, the interim president of the party. There is also an analysis on how the LGP fighting solo might change the electoral dynamics of the state of Bihar. Fresh standard operating procedures or guidelines have been announced for schools, because after 15th of October, many states are free to reopen schools. Although Delhi has already confirmed schools should be shut by 30 till 31st October. In Uttar Pradesh, a former member of the UP Legislative Council, Mr. Naseeb Pathan, has passed away. A Bengaluru-based biotech firm has been provided with a $2.5 million grant. It's the funding agency is actually a non-profit body known as CARB-X, CARB-X. It is run by the Boston University in the US. So they have awarded $2.5 million, which amounts to around 18 crore rupees, to Ganga Gen Biotechnologies from Bengaluru. Its president, Sri Tanjore S. Balaganesh, has confirmed this news. Why have they received this? This is because they are set to develop a novel antibacterial proteins that could potentially be used to treat multi-drug resistant infections. Now, there is a very important meeting which is set to take place. This is by the organization called Quad, QUAD. Quad is basically short for quadrilateral. I think you know the meaning of the word quadrilateral. It refers to four. So, Quad is basically a group of some countries to limit the overt dominance of China on the Indian Ocean and the South China Sea. These four countries are India, USA, Australia, and Japan. They have been having several meetings now, so they are set to have another meeting now to discuss two major things. One is yeah, so one is of course the 5G connectivity. I had told you about this a few days back, I think towards the end of last month. 5G, of course, is the fifth generation, which is set to restart, which is set to be on course. There is also, it's obviously we are right now, many of us are using 4G and 3G, but now 5G, and how to limit the role of Chinese companies when it comes to various tenders, government projects, because China is often feared to be listening to everything. So that is something the Quad will be discussing about. They will also be discussing about the potential coronavirus vaccine, and how it will be distributed at a relatively low cost within the member countries. Australia probably has the least challenge in terms of population. Their population is barely a little more than 20 million, say around 25 million. But USA has a population of around 330 million, Japan around 130 million, India around 1.3 billion, which is what makes the Indian case obviously most complex. India is also, in terms of per capita income, the poorest, by far the poorest of these four, as Australia, US, and Japan are all very rich first world countries. China often dismisses this group, the Quad, as ineffective, calling it a clique, and as a merely anti China body, as if they have nothing else in common except for bickering about China. So there is much pressure from China on these countries. However, there will also be a fresh initiative which some of these countries want on India to perhaps reconsider not signing up for the RCEP. Last year, remember, India walked out of RCEP even though we were expected to sign that. RCEP. Any idea what is RCEP? Let me give you a minute. You guys can write down the full form. Any idea what is RCEP? Give me the full form. I will tell you what it is all about. Right. I'm not sure if anybody has is aware of this. Let me write it down. Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership. So RCEP, that is the full form. And what exactly is it? First, मैं full form लिख देता हूँ. What does it actually stand for? How many countries are there? There are about 15 odd countries in it. So there are all the 10 members of the ASEAN. You also have Australia, New Zealand, South Korea, Japan, and USA. These are the 15 countries. India was expected to be the 16th, but India has actually walked out of it last moment. So there will be a fresh attempt made to woo India because India is such a massive economy. India already has lots of FTAs or free trade agreements with several of the member states, such as the ASEAN countries. So might as well, if you join the entire thing, that could benefit. That is the discussion these people are having. So basically, the Foreign Minister of Japan, Mr. Toshimitsu Motegi, and his Australian and US counterparts, Ms. Marie Pine and Mike Pompeo, have been having these 2 day meeting each other during the 2 day Tokyo visit. Australia will also be inducted into this year's Malabar, which is a maritime exercise between India and and I think with the USA, or maybe it's with Japan. So this year, Australia will also be added to it. The DRDO, or the Defense Research and Development Organization, has tested yet another missile. It is an ASW, or anti-submarine warfare missile. It's assisted by smart technologies, which is why it's known as the missile assisted release of torpedo, or smart technologies are part of this thing. So this is can be operated from ships to destroy submarines, but they will be having these chips so that they can be traced, and of course they also have a radar so that they can trace where exactly is the so-called submarine. Right. Finally, from this page, an Indian lab has been set up in the Global Vaccine Test Network, which has been developed by an organization called the CEPI, or the um, Coalition for Epidemic Preparedness Innovations. The CEPI has outlined this lab, which is the THSTI, or the Transnational Health Science and Technology Institute, which is an autonomous in which is located in Delhi, and it is an autonomous institute under the Department of Biotechnology, or the DBT. So this CEPI will be having 6 labs each in the countries, 6 labs in the world, with one each in India, also in Canada, UK, Italy, the Netherlands, and neighboring Bangladesh. So, 2 countries from Asia, 3 in Europe, and 1 from North America. The idea is that vaccines must be tested worldwide before they are implemented, because the chances of a broader genetic pool then emerge. There is an alarming report in in a journal called Nature Communications, which states that the Amazon rainforest is set to receive less of rainfall in the next couple of years, and that risks the Amazon turning into a savanna instead of a rainforest, as is the present status. Meanwhile, the FATF, or the Financial Action Task Force, is set to rule further on Pakistan's status. At present, Pakistan has grey status, but it might be downgraded to the blacklist in case irregularities can be proven. This FATF looks into money laundering for weapons based issues. While the talks have just ended in Doha and not much has really come out, there has been a fresh attack on an Afghan governor in Pakistan, and 8 people have been killed during this attack. Although the governor himself survived. The president Ashraf Ghani will move to Doha once again, while the delegation earlier has come to a standstill. Now the president himself is set to visit to further conclude the talks. There has been an attack on a Jewish student outside a synagogue in Germany. This may not appear to be a very significant piece of news, but because it is Germany, and Germany, of course, has had a history of anti Semitism. Remember, Germany was the country that engulfed the war into the world, into the Second World War. So, this might be a standalone incident, but who knows, this could also lead to certain broader issues. The West African country of Mali, meanwhile, has seen a disturbing trend. They have released about 100 jihadists. This is because they want to exchange the release of a politician and a charity worker who have both been kidnapped by the terrorist organizations in the region of Niafunke. Um, it's an 8-year-old organization. It's an 8-year-old Islamist insurgency which is taking place. So the opposition leader, Mr. Somalia Cisse, he was basically captured. Also, a French charity worker, Miss Sophie Petronin. Moving on to your favorite page, which is the business page. The PNB, or the Punjab National Bank, which has seen a lot of trouble over the last few years with its financial restructuring. However, now finally there seems to be a glimmer of hope. More than 500 new branches will be established in 2021. The main focus will be on the southern region of India, and in fact 4,000 new jobs will be added, which is quite a lot. South India and West India, the PNB's main footprint right now is in the north and the east, but it has overall 11,000 branches. Most of it are in the north and the east, but now the south and the west will also be having something like that. So in fact, they've also spoken about rationalization. In case there are two branches within 500 meters, they will be clubbed in together. Loss-making branches will also be shut down. So about 350 odd branches have been identified already to be shut down. All of this was mentioned by the managing director of the PNB. He's also the CEO, Mr. S.S. Mallikarjun Rao. So, in fact, even the PNB expects that the Indian economy will somewhat recover in the second half of this year, and that will be beneficial for them as well. SpiceJet has meanwhile announced that it will start non-stop flights to London, becoming the second Indian carrier after Vistara to open flights to London in the United Kingdom. The rise in share market has been dominated by the buyback plan initiated by the TCS, also by gains in the banking segment. The Prime Minister yesterday held a teleconference with several stakeholders regarding the role of AI, or artificial intelligence. So he's spoken about how this should not be a weapon to be used by non-state actors. There needs to be a collective responsibility to ensure that trust is maintained with AI. So angel broking, meanwhile, has now been listed on the stock exchange on the BSE with a 10% discount. I had told you earlier today about a move by Paytm, which is seeking to rival the Google Play Store by setting up a sort of a company, a window which will have all Indian companies in a particular app store. Maybe buoyed by that, Google has deferred its Play Store billing move to March 2022. So the idea is that Play Store's billing mechanism will need to be applied by everybody, which is Google Pay. This is something Paytm may not be able to afford because Paytm is actually a rival of Google Pay. So that might lead to certain, you know, complications for Paytm. The Sri Kalahasti Pipes Limited, which had actually, it's a leading maker of DI pipes, or ductile iron pipes. They had separated a few years back from the ECL, or the Electro Steel Castings Limited, but now these two companies are set to merge once again. The road transportation revenue, however, is going to be badly hit in financial year 21. This might actually shrink between 18 to 20% this year, as per a report by ICRA, one of the India's leading credit rating agencies. I was telling you a while back about how weather monitoring forecasts are very important for farmers. So one of the companies which is part of Reliance, it's the Reliance General Insurance Company Limited. They've actually allied with SatSure Analytics for crop insurance data. This could be a very good method. So SatSure actually has a platform known as SAGE or SAGE, which monitors weather forecasts, making use of satellites and drones, and then distributes that information on its portal and its mobile app as well. Something for farmers to take it up, and this will further be now getting a boost thanks to the uh, alliance with Reliance. The Jaguar Land Rover sales, JLR, of course, part of Tata Group, they have fallen by 12% in the second quarter this year, which is July to September, compared to the figure last year at this time. And the HDFC Bank, however, confirms that the business is returning back to pre-COVID levels. In the second quarter this year, the bank got 95% business compared to same stage last year. The UPASI, which has been in the news for some time, or the United Planters Association of South India, they have elected Shri Prashant Bhansali as president for 2020-21. They have been in the news because they wanted some concessions for coffee growing, especially because coffee growing has suffered quite a bit during the lockdown period. Now, there's a very interesting report by real estate giant JLL. It's more of a real estate consultancy and management firm. JLL stands for Jones Lang LaSalle. So they have said that the overall office space absorption is now 64% of pre-COVID levels on a quarter-on-quarter basis. Thus, the situation is improving. The net absorption of 5.4 million square feet in the month of June, sorry, for the quarter ending June. Mm, mm, so this did represent a 64% rise. Mm, I'm sorry, the quarter ending September. So July, August, September saw a 64% rise compared to April, May, and June. This major part of this rehabilitation was thanks to Bengaluru and Hyderabad among the big cities, which saw an 80% rise in net absorption. Net absorption means those who are coming out, those who are coming in, whatever is the net gains. There was a contraction in some major markets like the Delhi NCR, Mumbai, and Pune, while Chennai saw 110% spurt from because of an extremely low base. Because Tamil Nadu did see a pretty heavy, pretty stringent lockdown. So April, May, and June were pretty badly affected. Okay, I'm done with the business pages. Now I'm moving on to sports. The Delhi Capitals defeated the Royal Challengers Bengaluru. Delhi Capitals leading the table this year. Bengaluru not doing badly either. They're third in the table, though it's early days, too early to say perhaps. Um, so Delhi scored 196 for the loss of 4 wickets, while Prithvi Shah scoring 42. He was one of the top scorers. The RCB could only score 137, losing 9 wickets in the process. Mm, Kagiso Rabada, the South African bowlers, picked up 4 wickets, and yeah, he was of course the best player among the bowlers. Ravichandran Ashwin could have monk carded somebody. Monk carding is a very unique method of dismissal in cricket. He, however, refused to do that. Although Ashwin is a, he's quite a supporter of the monk carding system. His coach Ricky Ponting had asked him not to do that, so maybe that's the reason he didn't go for it. Bhuvneshwar Kumar and Amit Mishra we have now been ruled out of the rest of the IPL because of injuries sustained. So they will be going back. In fact, Amit Mishra is the all-time second highest wicket taker in the history of the IPL, only behind Lasith Malinga, the Sri Lankan, who opted out of the IPL this year due to personal reasons. So the Indian team for the tour to Australia in December will be selected next week. That has been declared. I told you about Aston Villa's victory over Liverpool. There is for Aston Villa, new signing Ollie Watkins, who was actually signed from a lower division club, Brentford. He scored a hat trick. The Englishman, Paul McGinn, the Scotsman, scored one goal. Another Englishman, Ross Barkley, scored one goal. He's a new signing on loan from Chelsea, while club mainstay Jack Grealish, another English player, scored two goals. So all scored goals scored by British players. Mohamed Salah scoring two goals for Liverpool to pull things back. In Spain, Cadiz could only draw with Granada, while Barcelona could only draw with Sevilla. Felipe Coutinho and Luke de Jong scoring the goals for both the teams. In Serie A, AC Milan beating Spezia 3-0. Ricardo Lea scoring two goals and Theo Hernandez scoring one. Juventus versus Napoli got cancelled due to a few Napoli players being, testing COVID positive. Right, so I'm basically done with the newspaper. I might do a bit of the Times of India, but in the meanwhile I want to discuss with you a little bit from the transfer market, which actually ended yesterday. Couple of really important stories from there. Yeah, I think most of you can take a look at the page I have turned open. So a couple of really interesting moves which I wanted to discuss with you guys. um, Manchester United on the last day. Remember, usually most years, August 31st is the timeline, is the deadline. And in England, last couple of years, it's been even earlier before even the start of the Premier League. This year, it's gone to October 5th because of the late start to the season, the COVID-19 and other such issues. We have a shorter window till 16th October also open. This is only for signings between England's top flight and the lower side. But you can't have any more signings within the division or with clubs from Europe, and that is true for across the leagues in Europe. They've more or less all agreed to this. So, as part of the move, um, Manchester United, who have endured a frustrating transfer window, chasing the English winger Jadon Sancho from Dortmund all summer, only to be rebuffed. United did buy Donny van de Beek, the Dutch attacking midfielder from Ajax. But on the last day, there were three signings made. One was a Uruguayan youngster, a winger from Penarol, the top club in Uruguay. The other two, one of them is from the other end of the age group, while the first guy is 18 years old. The other is legend, Uruguayan legend Edinson Cavani, who's 33 years old, has been without a club for the last few months since his contract ended with PSG. So I think he should be a great signing, although I know he's past his best. But I do think that we needed somebody who can score assured number of goals. Right now we have too many of these players who play around the striker, no one in the box, nobody who can really head goals. Cavani is brilliant in the air, so I think he can prove to be a very good option. I'm not saying he should start every game because Rashford, Martial, Greenwood has proven to be a decent front three. So he need not unsettle things, but he can be a very good addition to the first 16 or 18, if I may. The other player, however, I hope he instantly goes in to the starting lineup. That's Alex Telles. Alex Telles is this thing. He's a left back, Brazilian left back. Been playing for FC Porto for several years, and I think he's a really solid signing. He's 27 years old, so at the peak of his career, and definitely an upgrade on Luke Shaw. That's what I believe in. Right. If I look at some of the other clubs, Arsenal, I think, had the best last day of this transfer window, signing Ghanaian midfielder Thomas Partey. Partey, of course, is besides being a very good player, he's the kind of player they needed. I think Manchester United needed him more than they needed Donny van de Beek. I just couldn't understand. Donny van de Beek has to is a very good player, but he has to be rotated with Pogba and Bruno Fernandes, whereas a defensive midfielder United desperately needed. Uh, Arsenal did get him. Arsenal also had Lucas Torreira, who's a good player, Uruguayan midfielder, but he has been sent to Atletico on a loan. So Thomas Partey, I think, could be a great signing for Arsenal. Meanwhile, I think Fulham are also winners. They have signed Danish centre back Joachim Andersen on a loan. Joachim Andersen had a very good start to his career in Italy with Sampdoria. Signed up for Olympique Lyon in France. Had a good start, although he did not play a lot of matches after the restart. Now he hopes to get more game time, of course. Tottenham was looking to sign another centre back like Milan Skriniar or maybe Antonio Rudiger on loan. That did not take place. Let's move on further to some more of these deals. Let me just take you through. So this is The Guardian, my favorite website for all football related news. The mouse is not moving. Wait. Yes, now it is. Yeah, so not much of excitement into many of these. Rubens Loftus-Cheek, I think you guys can see this. I think this should be a good one. He's a promising English midfielder. He will be plays for Chelsea. He has moved to crosstown rivals Fulham on a loan spell. He's not fully fit, by the way. He's somewhat injured. That could affect his start to some extent. This is the young winger I was talking to you, Manchester United player. Uh, Not much else. Thomas Partey, I think, very good signing. Robin Olsen could be a good signing on a loan spell from Roma to Everton. This, I think, could be a tremendous signing. Everton, what a summer they have had. They signed Abdullah Doucouré, the midfielder from Watford. Then they signed this guy, what's his name? Whom did they sign after Duo? Yeah, they signed James Rodriguez from Real Madrid, the Colombian. They signed Alan, the Brazilian from Napoli. All three brilliant signings. They've all gelled so well. They have a new look midfield. They even bought Norwich City centre back, young English centre back Ben Godfrey yesterday. So that he's a tall, commanding centre back. And now, of course, they have bought this guy, Robin Olsen on loan, and I think he'll be an upgrade. Jordan Pickford, I don't think was good enough. I mean, he was very good, but last two seasons he's gone down. His form has deteriorated. So I think Robin Olsen, who has also spent time with Cagliari, I think he's a really good signing. Lucas Torreira, I told you I always liked him as a player, so I think he'll do well in the Atletico system. I told you about Joaquim Hernandez. Theo Walcott, what a story this is, an emotional return to Southampton. Some of you may not be aware, he's a childhood Southampton prodigy, just like Gareth Bale and Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, Luke Shaw. He had a long career, but of course now he's going back there. Jean-Claude Todibo, Barcelona to Benfica on loan. Lots of loan deals these days. There's been this new trend of loans with a with an obligation to buy. This is the new norm in a lot of countries because a lot of clubs have less money this summer. Even the richest clubs have less money this summer because of the reduction in revenues during the COVID period. There's also social pressure not to spend too much. Diego Laxalt, I think this is a very good signing for Glasgow Celtic. He's a good left back. Was on loan at Torino last season from Milan. Now he's joined Glasgow Celtic. Uh, Jeremy Doku could be a good signing. Had a good. Nowadays, all these players in the Belgian league they're highly valued because Belgium has been producing so many new young players. Michael Cousins, I think this is a decent deal. Frenchman going to Marseille. He seemed a decent player. Alen Halilovic was once seen as such a great talent. It was once considered Odegaard versus Halilovic because Martin Odegaard was signed by Real Madrid when he was a teenager. Likewise, Halilovic by Barcelona. So we saw a future of, Odegaard versus Halilovic in midfield. That never happened while Odegaard has had a pretty good career. Halilovic has totally gone off the boil. But a big signing, AC Milan, maybe that could, have a see some difference. Who knows? Right, Chris Smalling has moved to AS Roma, was for long a sort of a joked figure at Manchester United, but he had a very good spell on loan last year. So I think he could have been a decent squad player. At least he doesn't get injured like Phil Jones or Marcos Rojo, but he does move to Roma. I think it's a good move for him. Jack Wilshere released is without a club right now, but until registrations, he can still sign up for a club because that is still possible as per the rules. Adam Unas was once seen as a great talent, could not really do much justice. This guy is Algerian, moved to Cagliari on loan. Gerard Deulofeu, I think he was also a decent talent, but he's changed teams too often. Needs more stability, I believe, wherever he is. Right. Most of the rest of the deals not from yesterday. They are before that. But let me just cancel out for yesterday before I move on. I think this is a decent deal. Timur Bakayoko. Chelsea has long been trying to sell him, just can't manage to do that. Chelsea, of course, what a summer they had. Ben Chilwell, Thiago Silva, Malang Sarr, Edward Mendy, Timo Werner, Kai Havertz, Hakim Ziyech, many players. But they've also let go of Pedro Willian. Pedro was one, Willian another. Loftus-Cheek on loan. Then that right back Lamptey who went to Brighton, and of course now they have this player Timo Bakayoko. Now he's gone to Napoli. He spent 1 year on loan at Milan, then went to Monaco, and now again Napoli. So lot of changes. Marcio Di Scilio, Juventus fullback, going to Lyon. I think that could also be a big move. Interesting move, if not big. Justin Kluivert's moved to Leipzig on loan. Leipzig, of course, very good developers of talent. Ruben Vinagro has gone to Olympiacos, joins a fellow Greek players there. There is the goalkeeper, and there's also a centre back, Ruben Semedo. I think Jose Sa is the name of the goalkeeper. Can't remember. I think this is a good move. Davy Klaassen from Werder Bremen going back to his old club of Ajax. I think this is a pretty good signing. Douglas Costa returning back to Bayern Munich on a loan spell. Bayern and Juventus have for long cooperated. They do have a lot of intra-club movements. Eric Maxo Choupo-Moting moving to Bayern Munich from PSG. Sebastian Rudy out on a loan. Yeah, I think the rest of it was the day before. But I think this is a massive move, Danilo Pereira. It's a loan, but there's an obligation to pay next summer. So it comes down to around 20 million euros or pounds, I think. So Danilo Pereira, I think he's a really good defensive midfielder. So I don't know what PSG will do with him. They've already got Ander Herrera and Idrissa Gueye and Marco Verratti. So what was the need for another tough tackling combative midfielder? I just do not know when they already have three of them. But fair enough. PSG wants to stock in more players. I guess Ryan Sessegnon out on loan to Hoffenheim. I don't think there's any better league right now to develop young talent than the Bundesliga is. So very clever ploy by Tottenham, by Jose to develop this guy. I think that will do the world of football good overall. Um, yeah, that's pretty much it from the transfer window. Matteo Darmian joining Inter Milan on loan. This is a bit of a surprise since struggling, you could say failing at Manchester United. I never thought he would make such a strong comeback to his career, but it does seem that he is on pretty much a way back. That is rather, encouraging. Moise Kean, meanwhile, gone to PSG on a loan from Everton, struggled last year after leaving Juventus. Right, I'll just bring on the Times of India quickly and discuss quickly just a couple of things. I'll just connect the charger as well till then. Right. I guess you all were able to see my code AD09, so do subscribe to that in the meanwhile. So I brought the Times of India for a brief discussion. No more sports because we've done quite a bit of sports. So basically 13 hotspots will be targeted for the anti-pollution campaign by the government of Delhi. Government of India will be doing dolphin safaris now on the Ganga River. 6 locations have been identified for this, which are Bijnor, Brijghat, Prayagraj, and Varanasi in UP, also Kehelgaon in Bihar, and Bandil in West Bengal. These will be chosen there. The There is some move on the Bihar elections because it has been finally decided that out of the 243 seats in Bihar, 122 will be contested by the JDU, 121 by the BJP. Within the 122 of JDU, the party will allot some seats to Hindustan Awam Morcha. The BJP will allot some seats to the VIP, which is the Vikashsheel Insan party. It seems now VIP has probably quit the Mahagathbandhan. There's a report by Soumya Swaminathan from the World Health Organization. She says that the vaccine of COVID-19 will cover about 70% of the world's population, but it will take time, maybe till 2022 at the earliest, not before that. So India has offered Myanmar a $6 billion oil refinery. Reports suggest that this could be a move against Chinese aggression and dominance in the region. The Urban Affairs Ministry has signed an MOU to enable street food vendors to tap into home delivery of food. 5 cities will be started initially: Ahmedabad, Chennai, Delhi, Indore, and Varanasi. So the FSSAI AI registration will be required under this thing, and this scheme will be known as the Pradhan Mantri Street Vendors Atmanirbhar Nidhi, or PM SVAA Nidhi, PM Swanidhi. So yes, as I told you, three states will see a dolphin safari. I think that should be really exciting. That's something which I definitely want to go ahead as soon as possible. There's a writer on the K. Subramaniam. He's written a very good article. I think people should read this. He's the chief economic advisor, which is the top post, the top economist basically in the country. So he has written here. He's the chief economic advisor of the government of India. He says, what is the reason for farm bills to be opposed? He feels that this hostility is based on a discredited economic model which upholds vested interests. There is also an analysis of the number of the city-wise loss of blue-collar jobs. It seems Bengaluru lost the maximum at 1.5 lakhs, while Hyderabad lost about half that, Delhi lost about 40% of that, and Mumbai and Chennai about a third of that figure. Marico has seen a demand revival in FMCG during the September ending quarter, the second quarter of the year. Right. I had already told you no more sports because we've done quite a bit on that. Right. That's pretty much it. I am gonna wrap up pretty soon. You guys can let me know if there are any doubts. I'll keep the session open for a couple of minutes so you may put in your comments.